The alarm beeped 3 times before Taman even opened his eyes. He rolled off the narrow bunk in the back of his repair shop and stumbled toward the control panel. The screen showed a ship approaching his station. That was unusual. Most days, nobody came out this far. Taman ran his fingers through his messy black hair and squinted at the readings. The ship was damaged. Badly damaged. He could tell from the way it moved, limping through space like a wounded animal. Its energy signature was strange too. Not human. Not any species he recognized from the usual trade routes. He pressed the communication button. "This is Taman's repair dock. You're leaking plasma from your port side. Do you need help?" Static crackled through the speakers. Then a voice filtered through a translator replied, "Yes, emergency, we need landing. Come in slow," Taman said. Bay doors opening now. He grabbed his jacket and hurried down to the docking bay. Through the viewing window, he watched the ship approach. It was beautiful, even damaged. The hull shimmered with colors that seemed to shift in the light. The design was elegant, all smooth curves and flowing lines. Nothing like the boxy human cargo ships that occasionally stopped by. The ship settled onto the landing pad with a groan of stressed metal. Smoke drifted from several points along its surface. Taman grabbed his scanner and toolkit, then waited by the airlock. His heart beat faster than usual. He had been running this repair dock for 3 years, ever since his father died and left him the station. Most of that time had been boring. This was different. The ship's hatch opened with a hiss. 2 figures emerged through the smoke. Taman stared. They were tall, maybe 7 feet, with skin that had a faint blue tint. Their eyes were large and dark, taking up more of their faces than human eyes did. They wore matching suits made of some material that seemed to be both fabric and metal at the same time. But what struck him most was how similar they looked to each other. Twins, he realized. Identical twins. "You are the repair human?" the first one asked. Her voice was melodic even through the translator device at her throat. "Yes, I'm Taman. What happened to your ship?" The second twin stepped forward. His movements were exactly like his sister's, as if they had practiced walking the same way. "We were attacked. Raiders, 3 ships. We escaped, but the damage is severe." Taman walked around them toward the ship, his scanner already active. "Let me take a look. How long ago was the attack?" 6 hours, the female said. "I am Lyra. This is Ven. We are Velith." "Nice to meet you. Wish it was under better circumstances." Taman climbed up onto the ship's hull, careful to avoid the hot spots where the armor had been burned through. His scanner beeped as it analyzed the damage. "Your main drive is offline. The plasma conduits are ruptured in at least 4 places, and your shield generator is completely fried. Can you repair it?" Ven asked. Taman slid back down to the ground. "Maybe, probably, but I've never worked on Velith technology before. I'll need access to your ship's systems and schematics." The twins looked at each other. They did not speak, but something passed between them. Some kind of silent communication. Then Lyra nodded. "We will give you access, but you must understand our technology is very advanced, more advanced than human systems." "I've fixed a lot of different ships," Taman said. "I'll figure it out." They led him inside. The interior of the ship was as impressive as the exterior. Everything glowed with soft light that seemed to come from the walls themselves. The controls were not buttons or screens, but flowing patterns of light that responded to touch. In the center of the main cabin, a holographic display showed the ship's status. Most of it was red. "Your ship is alive," Taman said, surprised. "Not alive," Ven corrected. "But yes, it has a bio-neural network. The ship thinks, in a way. It learns and adapts, and that's incredible." Taman set down his toolkit and approached the display. "How do I interface with it?" Lyra touched a panel and the display changed to show technical schematics. "These are the damaged systems. Our ship's auto-repair functions are not working. The damage is too severe." Taman studied the schematics. Even though they were alien, he could understand the basic principles. Energy had to flow from here to there. Components needed to be connected. The logic was similar, even if the technology was more advanced. "I can work with this, but it's going to take a few days. Maybe 3 or 4. "We have nowhere else to go," Lyra said quietly. "The nearest Velith station is 2 weeks away, and our life support will fail long before that. Then you'll stay here while I work." Taman rolled up his sleeves. "Do you need anything? Food, water?" The twins exchanged another one of those silent looks. "We brought our own supplies," Ven said. "We do not want to be a burden." You're paying customers, not a burden, Taman said. He grabbed his tools and headed toward the engine room. Make yourselves comfortable. This is going to take a while. For the next several hours, Taman lost himself in the work. The Velith ship was unlike anything he had ever seen. The systems were incredibly complex but also elegant. Everything was connected in ways that seemed almost organic. When he disconnected a damaged plasma conduit, he could see how the ship had tried to reroute power around the injury, like blood flowing around a wound. But the ship's automated systems had limits. They could not improvise. They could not think outside their programming. That was where Taman came in. He found a damaged power relay that was causing a cascade failure through 3 other systems. The Velith repair manual said to replace the entire relay assembly. But Taman did not have Velith parts. Instead, he pulled out some human components from his supply room and modified them. He bypassed the damaged sections and created a new pathway using copper wire and a magnetic coupling from an old cargo hauler. It was not pretty, but it worked. When he reconnected the power, the ship hummed. The lights in the engine room brightened. He heard Lyra gasp from somewhere deeper in the ship. Taman crawled out from under the engine housing covered in grease and sweat. He found both twins standing in the doorway staring at him. What did you do? Lyra asked. I fixed the power relay. Well, I bypassed it. Your ship should have 40% more power now. Ben stepped closer, his large dark eyes fixed on Taman's jury-rigged repair. This should not work. The systems are not compatible. But it does work, Taman said, wiping his hands on a rag. Sometimes the simple solution is the best one. The twins looked at each other again with that strange, silent communication. Then Lyra turned back to him. You are not like other humans we have met. I'm probably not like other humans anyone has met, Taman admitted. I grew up on this station. My father taught me to fix anything that broke. He said every machine speaks its own language. You just have to learn to listen. Our ship is speaking to you, Ven said softly. It was not a question. Taman looked around at the glowing walls, at the way the bio-neural network pulsed with light like a heartbeat. Yeah, he said. I think maybe it is. He did not know it yet, but that moment changed everything. The ship was speaking to him, and somewhere in its bio-neural network it was learning his voice, learning his patterns, beginning to recognize him as something more than just a repair technician. The twins knew. They felt it through their own connection to the ship. They felt him, and they were not sure if they should be worried or amazed. On the second day, Taman woke up to find Lyra standing in his workshop. She was holding one of his tools, turning it over in her long fingers like she was trying to understand how something so simple could exist. That's a wrench, he said, stretching his sore back. He had fallen asleep at his workbench again. Pretty basic stuff. We do not use physical tools like this anymore, Lyra said. Our repair systems are automated, or we use energy fields to manipulate components. Must be nice. Taman stood and grabbed the wrench from her hand. But sometimes you need something simple, something reliable. Energy fields can fail. Automated systems can glitch. But a good wrench? He tossed it in the air and caught it. A good wrench is forever. Lyra's large eyes followed the movement. You are proud of your primitive methods. Primitive? Taman raised an eyebrow. Your fancy ship is broken, and my primitive methods are fixing it. I'd say that makes them pretty advanced. For the first time since they arrived, Lyra smiled. It was small, just a slight curve of her lips, but it changed her whole face. You are right. I apologize. Ven and I have been taught that our technology is superior to all others. Perhaps we were taught wrong. Maybe not wrong, Taman said, heading toward the ship. Just incomplete, come on. I need to access the main drive today, and I could use an extra pair of hands. Lyra followed him into the ship. Ven was already in the engine room, his hands moving through a holographic display. He looked up when they entered. The bio-neural network is showing unusual activity. What kind of unusual? Taman asked. It is trying to adapt to your repairs, but it does not understand them. The system is confused. Ven gestured at the display, and Taman saw patterns of light swirling in chaotic loops. It wants to integrate your modifications into its structure, but it cannot process the logic. Taman studied the display. Your ship thinks my repairs are wrong because they don't follow its rules. Essentially, yes. Can I talk to it directly? The twins both stared at him. Talk to the ship? Lyra asked. Interface with it. Connect to the bio-neural network. Whatever you call it. Ven shook his head. That requires a neural link. Only Velith can create neural links with our technology. Our brain patterns are specifically compatible. Let me try anyway. Taman approached the holographic display. How do I connect? The twins hesitated. Then Lyra touched a panel and a thin band of light appeared in the air. Place your hand here. But I do not think anything will happen. Taman reached out and put his hand into the light. The world exploded. Suddenly he was not standing in the engine room anymore. He was everywhere. He was the ship. He could feel the damaged plasma conduits like cuts on his own skin. He could sense the power flowing through the systems like blood in his veins. The bioneural network opened up around him, vast and complex and alive in a way he had never imagined. And he could hear it thinking. The ship was confused by his repairs. Yes, but it was also curious. It was reaching out to him, trying to understand, trying to learn. Taman did not know how, but he knew what to do. He thought about his repairs, showing the ship why they worked. He explained in concepts rather than words. He showed the ship that there were many paths to the same destination. That efficiency was good, but adaptability was better. The ship listened. The chaotic patterns in the network began to settle. The confused loops straightened into clean lines. The ship understood, and more than that, it accepted. It took Taman's human logic and integrated it into its own Velith programming, creating something new. Something hybrid. Taman pulled his hand back and gasped. He was back in the engine room, but his head was spinning. Lyra caught his arm to steady him. What did you do? She whispered. I taught it, Taman said. His voice sounded strange in his own ears. I taught your ship to think like a human. Ben was staring at the holographic display. The patterns were completely different now, smoother, more flexible. This is impossible. Humans cannot interface with Velith bioneural networks. Your brain patterns are too different, too chaotic. Maybe that's exactly why it worked, Taman said. He was starting to feel normal again, though his hands were shaking. You said the ship was confused by my repairs. Maybe it needed chaos. Maybe it needed something different to understand. Lyra and Ven looked at each other with that silent communication again, but this time Taman could almost feel what was passing between them. Shock, wonder, and something else, something that felt like recognition. We need to tell you something, Lyra said slowly, about why we were traveling through this sector, about our mission. Taman sat down on a crate, still feeling shaky. I'm listening, Ven began. We are diplomats. We were traveling to meet with the Galactic Council to discuss a growing threat. Raiders have been attacking ships across multiple sectors, not for cargo or ransom, but to test new weapons. Weapons designed to disrupt bioneural networks. The attack on your ship, Taman said. That was a test? Yes, they hit us with some kind of neural scrambler. It shut down most of our systems instantly. We barely escaped. Lyra sat down across from him. The Raiders are working for someone who wants to destabilize the Velith and our allies. If they perfect this weapon, they could cripple our entire fleet. That's why you're going to the Council. To warn them. Yes, but now there is something else. Ven knelt down so he was at eye level with Taman. What you just did interfacing with our ship should not be possible. But you did it, and you did it better than many Velith could do. Your neural patterns created harmonics with the bioneural network that we have never seen before. Taman frowned. What does that mean? It means, Lyra said quietly, that humans might be the key to defending against the neural scramblers. If human brain patterns can interface with Velith technology, they might also be immune to weapons designed to disrupt Velith patterns. You need to come with us, Ven said, to the Council, to show them what you can do. I can't. Taman stood up quickly. I have a business here. This station is all I have. It was my father's and now it's mine. I can't just leave. We understand, Lyra said, but her voice was sad. We will not force you. You have already done more than we could have asked. The rest of the day passed in uncomfortable silence. Taman worked on the ship's shield generator, while the twins made preparations for their departure. He tried not to think about what they had told him. He tried to focus on the work, but that night, lying in his bunk, he could not sleep. He kept thinking about the moment when he had connected with the ship, the feeling of being part of something larger than himself, the sense of belonging to a network of intelligence and purpose. He had spent 3 years alone on this station, fixing broken things and barely surviving. When was the last time he had felt like he was part of something important? Around midnight, alarms blared through the station. Taman bolted upright and ran to the control panel. The screen showed 3 ships approaching fast. Their signatures matched the description of the raiders that had attacked the twins. His heart dropped into his stomach. They had been found. He hit the communication button. "Lyra, Ven, we have incoming hostiles." The twins appeared within seconds, fully suited up. "How many?" Ven asked. 3 ships, same as before." Taman's fingers flew over the controls, bringing up what little defensive systems his repair station had. "My shields won't hold against a serious attack. Maybe 2 minutes if we're lucky." "Our ship is not fully repaired," Lyra said, but she was already running toward the docking bay. "But it can fly. We need to leave now." "I need to send a distress signal," Taman said. "Other humans need to know about the raiders. There is no time." An explosion rocked the station. The lights flickered. Taman looked at the screen and saw one of the raiders firing on his communications array. They were not trying to destroy the station yet. They were isolating it, making sure no signal could get out. "They know you are here," Ven said. "They followed us. If you stay, they will kill you to eliminate witnesses." Taman looked around his father's station, at the workshop where he had learned everything he knew, at the home he had lived in his entire life. Then he looked at Lyra and Ven, these 2 aliens he had known for only 2 days. Another explosion shook the station. "Closer this time. Go." Taman grabbed his toolkit and ran toward the docking bay. "Start the engines." "I'm coming with you." Taman sprinted through the corridors of his station as another explosion rocked the walls. Emergency lights flashed red. Somewhere behind him he heard the groan of metal tearing. The station his father had built was dying, and there was nothing he could do to save it. He burst into the docking bay just as Lyra powered up the ship's engines. The vessel hummed to life, still damaged but functional. Ven stood at the airlock, gesturing frantically. "Hurry!" Taman did not look back. He jumped through the airlock just as a blast tore through the bay doors behind him. The pressure change nearly sucked him back out, but Ven grabbed his arm and hauled him inside. "The airlock sealed with a hiss. Go!" Ven shouted toward the cockpit. The ship lurched forward. Through the viewing window, Taman watched his station break apart. The workshop where his father taught him to hold a wrench. The small kitchen where he had eaten breakfast that morning. The bunk where he had slept for 3 years. All of it shattered into debris. He felt numb. "Strap in," Lyra called from the pilot's seat. "They are pursuing!" Taman stumbled to one of the passenger seats and fumbled with the harness. The safety straps wrapped around him automatically, adjusting to his smaller human frame. Through the front view screen, he could see the 3 raider ships moving to intercept. "Can we outrun them?" he asked. "Not with the damage we still have," Ven said. He was at the co-pilot station, his hands moving through holographic controls. "Our main drive is at 60%. Shields are at 40%. Then we fight?" Taman had never been in combat before. His voice cracked on the last word. "We run smart," Lyra said. Her voice was calm, controlled. "Ven, plot a course through the asteroid field. They will have to slow down to follow. That will require precise navigation," Ven warned. "I know." Lyra's hands moved faster through the controls. "But our ship has something they do not expect now." The ship banked hard to the left and Taman felt his stomach lurch. They dove toward a nearby asteroid field. Huge tumbling rocks that would crush the ship if they collided. The raider ships followed, firing energy weapons that lit up the darkness of space. One blast hit their shields. The ship shuddered but held together. "Shields at 30%, Ven reported. They entered the asteroid field at full speed. Lyra weaved between the massive rocks with incredible skill, but the raiders were good pilots too. They stayed close, firing constantly. Another hit. Then another. Shields failing. "Taman!" Lyra called back to him. "Can you interface with the ship?" "Like you did before?" "What now?" His heart was pounding so hard he could barely think. "The ship can help me navigate if it has a human perspective. Your chaos, your intuition. It can predict paths I cannot see, please." Taman unstrapped himself and stumbled toward the interface panel. His hands were shaking as he reached for the light band. He had no idea if this would work. He had barely understood what happened the first time. But Lyra needed him. Ven needed him. He placed his hand in the light. The ship opened up to him again, but this time it was different. The bioneural network recognized him. It welcomed him. He could feel Lyra's mind connected to the ship, focused and precise. He could feel Ven's presence too, calculating trajectories and probabilities, and he could feel the asteroids. Not see them, feel them. Each massive rock had its own gravity, its own pull. The ship could sense these forces, could feel how they affected its movement. But it needed something more. It needed instinct. Taman stopped thinking and just felt. Left. No. Right. Down. Spin. Up. The ship responded to his instincts instantly. Lyra's hands moved in perfect sync with the bio-neural network's suggestions. The vessel danced through the asteroid field like it was choreographed. Rocks that should have crushed them passed by with meters to spare. The raiders tried to follow, but they did not have the same advantage. They had to rely on sensors and calculations. One of them clipped an asteroid and spun out of control, crashing into another rock in a ball of fire. 2 left. Keep going, Lyra said. Her voice sounded distant, like she was speaking through the ship itself. You are doing perfectly. Taman could feel her confidence flowing through the network. He could feel Ven's steady calculations supporting every move, and he realized something incredible. The 3 of them were not separate anymore. In this moment, connected through the bio-neural network, they were one mind with 3 different perspectives. Human intuition, Velith precision, and the ship's own growing intelligence learning from both. They dove under a massive rotating asteroid. The raiders followed, but Taman felt the gravitational pull of another rock coming from the side. He knew what to do. Sharp turn. Now. Lyra executed the turn perfectly. The raiders could not react fast enough. They flew straight into the gravitational pull and slammed into each other. Both ships exploded in silence. They were clear. Taman pulled his hand back and collapsed onto the floor. His head was spinning worse than before. Lyra put the ship on autopilot and rushed back to check on him. Ven was right behind her. Are you okay? Lyra knelt beside him, her cool fingers touching his forehead. Yeah, Taman gasped. Just dizzy. That was intense. You saved us, Ven said quietly. Without your interface, we would have died in that asteroid field. Taman looked up at both of them. In the soft glow of the ship's bioluminescent walls, their blue-tinted skin seemed to shimmer. Their large dark eyes were filled with something he could not quite name. Gratitude, yes, but also wonder. What just happened? He asked. I mean, I know we escaped. But that connection, I could feel both of you. I could feel your thoughts. You created a 3-way neural link, Lyra said. Her voice was soft, almost reverent. That should not be possible. The bio-neural network can link with Velith minds, but adding a human mind should create chaos. Instead, it created harmony. We were better together than separate, Ven added. Each of us brought something unique. Your human intuition saw patterns our Velith logic would miss. Lyra's piloting skills gave form to those patterns. My calculations kept us from taking unnecessary risks. Together we were complete. Taman sat up slowly. Is this normal for Velith? This kind of connection? The twins exchanged one of their silent looks. Then Lyra helped him to his feet. Come, you should rest. We have a long journey ahead of us, and there is much we need to discuss. Where are we going? To our homeworld, Ven said. To the Velith High Council. They need to understand what happened here. They need to understand what you can do. And if I want to go back? Taman asked. But even as he said it, he knew there was nothing to go back to. His station was destroyed. His home was gone. Lyra's expression was sad. The raiders destroyed your station to eliminate evidence. They do not leave witnesses. If you had stayed, you would be dead now. So I have no choice. You have a choice, Ven said firmly. You can come with us to the Velith homeworld, where you will be protected and honored. Or we can take you to a human colony world, where you can start over. It is your decision. Taman walked to the view screen and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there was human space. Familiar territory. He could go to a colony world, maybe find work at another repair dock. Live a normal life, but would it be living? Or just surviving? He thought about the moment in the asteroid field. The feeling of being connected to something greater. The sense of purpose. For the first time in 3 years, he had not felt alone. Tell me about your homeworld, he said quietly. Lyra came to stand beside him. It is beautiful. Cities that grow like crystals from the ground. Oceans that glow at night, and the people are devoted to learning, to growth, to connection. Will they accept me? A human? Some will. Some will not. Ven joined them at the view screen. The Velith can be proud. Many believe we are superior to other species. But you have proven that belief wrong. You have shown that humans have gifts we do not. That should change minds. Should, Taman repeated. But might not. No, Lyra admitted. It might not. But Ven and I will stand with you. You saved our lives. You connected with our ship in ways we did not think possible. We owe you a debt. It is more than a debt, Ven said softly. When we connected through the bio-neural network, we felt who you are. Your courage, your loneliness, your desire to matter. We understand you now, Taman, and we want you to stay with us. Taman looked at both of them. These two aliens who had crashed into his life 2 days ago. They should have been strangers. But after what they had shared in that asteroid field, they felt like something more, like family. Okay, he said, I'll come with you. But I need to know what I'm walking into. What do I need to know about the Velith? About your culture? Lyra and Ven smiled at the same time, mirror images of each other. Everything, Lyra said, and we have 2 weeks of travel to teach you. As the ship jumped into slipspace and the stars stretched into lines, Taman felt the last connection to his old life snap. There was no going back now, only forward into a future he could not imagine. But for the first time in years, he was not afraid of what came next. The first 3 days in slipspace were the loneliest Taman had ever experienced. He spent most of his time in the small passenger quarters Lyra had prepared for him, staring at the walls and thinking about everything he had lost. His father's station, his tools, the only life he had ever known. On the 4th day, Lyra came to his door. You have not eaten, she said, holding a tray with strange containers of Velith food. Ven and I are worried. I'm not hungry. Taman. She sat down on the edge of his bunk without asking permission. Grief is natural, but you cannot let it consume you. Your father built that station, yes, but he also built you. The skills he taught you, the knowledge he gave you, those things are still here. She touched his forehead gently. In here. He looked up at her. How do you know about grief? Because Ven and I lost our parents too. They died when we were young. We understand what it means to lose your home. Something in her voice made him sit up. I'm sorry. I didn't know. How could you? We have only known each other for days. Lyra set the tray down and folded her hands in her lap. But those days have been intense. We have shared things that usually take years to build. Connection through the bio-neural network creates understanding that words cannot. Is that normal? For Velith, I mean. To connect that deeply that fast? Lyra was quiet for a long moment. No, it is not normal at all, which is why we need to talk to you about something important. She called for Ven, and he appeared in the doorway within seconds. The two of them sat across from Taman, and he suddenly felt nervous. Their faces were serious. We have not been completely honest with you, Ven began, about who we are and why our mission to the Galactic Council matters so much. You said you're diplomats. We are. But we are also more than that. Lyra took a breath. In Velith culture, twins are rare. Maybe 1 in every 10,000 births. And twins who are born with a natural neural bond, who can communicate without words from childhood, are even rarer. Perhaps 1 in a million. You two have that bond. Yes, and it makes us politically significant. Bonded pairs are considered blessed. They often become leaders because they can make decisions with perfect unity. Ven and I were raised to serve our people, to represent the ideal of Velith connection. Ven continued the explanation. The raiders who attacked us were not random. They knew who we were. They targeted us specifically because killing a bonded pair would be a symbolic victory. It would weaken Velith morale. So, you're like royalty or something? Not exactly. We have no official power, but we have influence, and that makes us targets. Lyra leaned forward. The larger threat we were traveling to warn the Council about is real. Someone is arming raiders with technology designed to disrupt Velith bio-neural systems. If they succeed in creating a weapon that can break neural bonds on a massive scale, our entire civilization could collapse. Taman felt his stomach drop. That's why what I did matters. Why I can interface with the ship. Yes, if humans can connect with our technology in ways that are immune to these disruptors, you might be the key to our survival. Ven's dark eyes were intense. But there is something else. Something we did not expect. The twins looked at each other with that silent communication. Then Lyra spoke carefully. When you connected with us through the bio-neural network, something happened that we have never experienced before. The bond between Ven and me is strong. We feel each other's thoughts and emotions constantly. But when you joined us, the bond did not break or weaken. It expanded. I don't understand. You became part of it, Ven said quietly. For those moments in the asteroid field, the three of us were not separate beings. We were one consciousness with three perspectives. That should not be possible. Bonded pairs do not add new members. The connection is fixed from birth. But I'm human. Maybe that makes it different? Perhaps. Lyra's expression was troubled, or perhaps it means something we are afraid to consider. Before Tai Min could ask what she meant, alarms blared through the ship. All three of them jumped to their feet and rushed to the cockpit. The view screen showed they were dropping out of slip space. Why are we stopping? Tai Min asked. Ven was already at the controls, his hands moving through holographic displays. The drive is overheating. The repairs are holding, but the system needs to cool down before we can continue. How long? 6 hours, maybe 8. Lyra pulled up a star map. We are in an empty sector, no stations nearby. We should be safe here. But Tai Min had learned not to trust assumptions of safety. Can I check the drive? Make sure everything is okay? Of course. He spent the next few hours in the engine room, monitoring the cooling systems and making small adjustments. The ship's bio-neural network seemed happy to work with him now. It responded to his thoughts almost before he could act on them. It was like the ship remembered him, trusted him. Lyra found him there, lying on his back under the main drive assembly with a diagnostic tool in his hand. You are always more comfortable around machines than people, she observed. Machines make sense, they have rules. People are complicated. Are Ven and I complicated? Tai Min slid out from under the drive and sat up. Yes, but in a good way, I think. Lyra sat down next to him on the floor, not caring that it was covered in grease and coolant. May I ask you something personal? Sure. Do you have anyone? In human space? Someone who will miss you? Tai Min thought about it. No. My father was the only family I had. After he died, I kept to myself. Customers would come and go, but I never got close to anyone. It was easier that way. Easier to not be hurt? Yeah. Ven and I understand that impulse. After our parents died, we had each other, but we closed ourselves off from everyone else. Our bond was so complete that we did not think we needed anyone else. We were wrong. What changed? You did. Lyra met his eyes. When you connected with us in the asteroid field, we felt what it was like to have a third perspective. To have someone whose mind works completely differently from ours. It was like seeing in a new color. We did not know we were missing it until we experienced it. Tai Min's heart was beating faster. What are you saying? Before Lyra could answer, Ven appeared in the doorway. The drive has cooled enough. We can continue to the homeworld now. Lyra stood and offered Tai Min her hand. He took it and she pulled him to his feet. Her skin was cool and smooth, and she held on for a moment longer than necessary. We should reach the homeworld in 3 more days, she said. When we arrive, things will move quickly. The High Council will want to test you. To understand your abilities, some of them will be welcoming, others will be hostile. Why hostile? Because you are human. Because you challenge their beliefs about Valeth superiority. Ven crossed his arms. You must be prepared for that. Some will see you as a curiosity, others as a threat. What do you see me as? The twins looked at each other. Then Lyra smiled. As someone who belongs with us, if you will have us. The next 3 days passed differently. Tai Min did not hide in his quarters anymore. He spent his time with Lyra and Ven, learning about Valeth culture and teaching them about human ways. They were fascinated by his stories of growing up on a repair station, of learning to fix things by trial and error. Velith children are educated through direct neural teaching, Ven explained. Knowledge is transferred from teacher to student through the bio-neural network. It is efficient but leaves little room for creative discovery. You learn by doing, Lyra said. By making mistakes and figuring out solutions. That is why your mind works the way it does. You were taught to improvise. And that's useful? It is everything, Ven said seriously. Our civilization has become rigid. We follow established patterns because they work. But when something truly new challenges us like these neural disruptors, we struggle to adapt. You do not have that problem. On their last night before reaching the homeworld, Taimin could not sleep. He went to the observation deck and found both twins already there, standing side by side and looking out at the stars. Nervous? Lyra asked without turning around. Terrified, Taimin admitted. He joined them at the window. What if your council rejects me? What if I can't help? Then we will deal with that when it happens, Ven said. But know this, no matter what the council decides, Lyra and I have made our choice. You are part of our bond now. We will not abandon you. Taimin looked at both of them. Why? You barely know me. We know you better than you think, Lyra said softly. We felt your mind, your courage when facing the raiders, your loneliness after losing your father, your desire to matter, to be part of something greater than yourself. Those things are real. Those things matter. We are bonded pairs, Ven added. We understand connection in ways most beings do not. And we feel the connection with you. It is real, Taimin. Whatever happens next, we face it together. Taimin felt something tight in his chest loosen. For years he had been alone, convinced that was safer than risking connection. But maybe he had been wrong. Maybe belonging to something, to someone, was worth the risk of being hurt. Together, he repeated quietly. Through the view screen, a planet came into view. It was beautiful, covered in cities that glowed like crystals and oceans that shimmered with bioluminescence. The Velith homeworld, their destination. And possibly, if things went well, his new home. The landing was nothing like Taimin expected. He thought they would dock at some private facility, maybe sneak him in quietly. Instead, Lyra and Ven brought their ship down at the Grand Spire, the central hub of Velith government. Hundreds of beings stopped and stared as the damaged vessel settled onto the platform. Everyone is looking at us, Taimin said nervously. They are looking at the ship, Ven corrected. They know this vessel belongs to us. They know we were on a diplomatic mission. Seeing it return damaged will raise questions. Lyra powered down the engines and turned to face Taimin. Are you ready? No, but let's do this anyway. The airlock opened and they stepped out onto the platform. The air smelled different here, sweeter than the recycled atmosphere of the ship. The sky was a pale purple color, and the sun was smaller and more orange than Earth's sun. Around them, crystalline buildings rose hundreds of meters into the air, their surfaces catching the light and scattering it in rainbow patterns. It was the most beautiful place Taimin had ever seen, and every single Velith on the platform was staring at him with expressions ranging from curiosity to obvious disgust. A group of official-looking Velith approached. They wore robes that seemed to flow like liquid metal, and their faces were stern. The leader, a tall female with silver markings on her blue skin, stopped in front of Lyra and Ven. You return damaged and late, she said without preamble. And you bring a human, explain. Elder Nara. Lyra bowed her head respectfully. We were attacked by raiders using neural disruptor weapons. Our ship was nearly destroyed. This human Taimin saved our lives by repairing our vessel and helping us escape. Elder Nara's large eyes fixed on Taimin. He felt like he was being dissected. A human repaired a Velith ship? He did more than that, Ven said. He interfaced directly with our bio-neural network. He created a three-way neural link and helped us navigate an asteroid field that would have killed us. His abilities may be the key to defending against the neural disruptors, the gathered crowd murmured. Taimin could not understand their language without a translator, but he could read the body language. Shock, disbelief, anger. Elder Nara's expression did not change. These are extraordinary claims. The High Council will wish to investigate immediately. All three of you will come with me. They were escorted through the crystalline city. Everywhere Taman looked, there were wonders. Buildings that seemed to grow organically from the ground. Vehicles that floated silently through the air. Gardens filled with plants that glowed and moved like they were dancing. But he also noticed how the Velith citizens reacted to him. Most averted their eyes. Some whispered to each other. A few looked openly hostile. He was not welcome here. The High Council chamber was at the top of the grand spire. It was a circular room with a domed ceiling that showed the stars above. 12 council members sat in elevated seats arranged in a semicircle. Elder Nara took her place among them. Lyra, Ven, and Taman stood in the center of the chamber. Taman felt very small. Lyra and Ven, bonded pair of the 7th generation, the eldest council member spoke. His voice was deep and resonant. You were sent to warn the Galactic Council about the neural disruptor threat. Why have you returned before completing your mission? Honored Elder Kane, Lyra began. We were attacked and nearly killed. We would not have survived without the intervention of this human. In the process of repairing our ship, he demonstrated an ability to interface with Velith bioneural technology in ways we have never seen. We believe this discovery is more important than our original mission. A human interfacing with our sacred technology? Another council member spoke, her tone dripping with contempt. Impossible. Velith bioneural networks are evolved specifically for Velith minds. Human neural patterns are too chaotic, too primitive. That is what we believe too, Ven said calmly, but we have witnessed it ourselves. Taman not only interfaced with our ship, he improved its functionality. He taught the bioneural network to think in new ways. This is absurd, Elder Nara said coldly. You expect us to believe that an inferior species has superior neural capabilities? That a human who fixes broken machines can teach our technology something new? Taman felt anger rising in his chest. He knew he should stay quiet, but the words came out anyway. I'm not inferior. I'm just different. The chamber went silent. Every council member stared at him. The human speaks out of turn, Elder Nara said. This is a council session. You have not been given permission to address us. Let him speak, Elder Caney said. I am curious what he has to say. Taman took a breath. You think humans are primitive because our technology is less advanced than yours. But we got to space through trial and error, through making mistakes and learning from them. We improvise and adapt because we have to. Maybe that makes our neural patterns different from yours. But different doesn't mean worse. Brave words from someone standing in our chamber, another council member said. But words prove nothing. You claim you can interface with our technology. Prove it. The council wishes to test you, Elder Caney said. You will undergo a series of evaluations to determine if your abilities are real, or if Lyra and Ven are simply deluded by gratitude. I'll take your tests, Taman said. But I'm not doing it to prove anything to you. I'm doing it to help Lyra and Ven. The testing began immediately. They took him to a medical facility deep within the Grand Spire. Velith scientists hooked him up to machines that monitored his brain activity while he attempted to interface with increasingly complex bioneural systems. The first test was simple. Connect to a basic network and identify the active nodes. Taman did it easily. The second test was harder. Reroute power through a damaged system without using physical tools. It took him longer, but he succeeded. The third test seemed designed to fail. They gave him a system that was deliberately scrambled, with no logical pattern to its structure. A Velith mind would try to find the pattern and fail, but Taman did not look for patterns. He felt the system, sensed where the energy wanted to flow, and opened pathways based on intuition rather than logic. The system stabilized. The scientists looked shocked. For 3 days they tested him. Each trial was harder than the last. Some he passed brilliantly, others he failed completely. The scientists took detailed notes and argued among themselves in their melodic language. Lyra and Ven were not allowed to see him during the testing. He was alone with strangers who looked at him like he was a laboratory animal. By the third night, he was exhausted and emotionally drained. They finally brought him back to the council chamber. Lyra and Ven were already there, standing side by side. When Taman entered, they both reached for him but stopped themselves. Public displays were clearly not acceptable here. The council members reviewed the test results in silence. Then Elder Caney spoke. The results are unprecedented. Taman has demonstrated the ability to interface with Velith bioneural networks at a level comparable to a trained Velith technician. In some tests, particularly those requiring adaptive problem-solving, he exceeded our expectations. However, Elder Nara interrupted, he also failed several fundamental tests that any Velith child could pass. His mind is undisciplined, chaotic. He succeeds through luck and instinct, not through proper understanding. His different approach is exactly why he succeeds, Lyra argued. The neural disruptors are designed to attack Velith neural patterns. Taman's human patterns might be immune. We do not know that for certain, another council member said. And even if true, what are you proposing? That we recruit humans to operate our technology? That we rely on an inferior species for our defense? I propose, Ven said carefully, that we study this phenomenon further. That we explore the possibility of human-Velith collaboration. The war is coming whether we like it or not. We need every advantage we can find, the council deliberated. Finally, Elder Caney spoke. We acknowledge that Taman possesses unusual abilities, but we are not convinced that these abilities represent a viable solution to our problems. Furthermore, his presence here raises uncomfortable questions about Velith superiority and the nature of neural bonding. Taman felt his heart sink. They were going to reject him. Therefore, Elder Caney continued, we grant Taman temporary status as a research subject. He will remain on our world under observation. Lyra and Ven, you will continue your diplomatic mission to the Galactic Council as originally planned. Without the human. No, Lyra said immediately. We refuse to leave him here alone. You do not have a choice, Elder Nara said coldly. Your mission is too important, and frankly your attachment to this human is disturbing. You are a bonded pair. You should not need the company of an outsider. He is not an outsider, Ben said quietly. Not to us. The council chamber erupted in whispers. Elder Nara stood, her face furious. What are you saying? That this human has somehow become part of your bond? That is impossible. It is sacred. It is Velith. You disgrace yourselves and your lineage by suggesting otherwise. We suggest nothing, Lyra said, her voice steady despite the obvious emotion beneath it. We state fact. When we connected with Taman through the bioneural network, something changed. We felt it. The three of us became one consciousness. That does not happen by accident. Then you are deluded, Elder Nara spat. The coup?